Hello, my abundant healers. As a therapist, coach, and/or healer, what if I told you that there is a way to make boy band money doing what you love online without compromising your principles? What if there was a way to develop an authentic marketing strategy that had you collecting a steady stream of clients without having to struggle with tech overwhelm or salesy gimmicks? It may sound too good to be true, but believe me, it is possible. And I know because as a therapist, coach, and Reiki practitioner with over 12 years experience in the field, I started implementing 9 steps, a 9-step framework in my business to start bringing in up to 10K per month. Now, today, I want to tell you a little bit more about 4 tips on how to cultivate the kind of online course you want to create, okay? Because a lot of times I find that whether you're a therapist, coach, and/or healer, when you come to me, it's usually because you've already kind of started to tease the idea or sort of circle around the idea that maybe bringing your business online could help propel you into the direction you want to go in, right? And so for today, I really want to talk much more about what those 4 tips may be. And this is going to help you start to hone in on what it is that you would want to create, what it is that you would want to put out there, okay? So the first tip is that you want to evaluate your experience and verify it with your community, okay? The second tip is you want to determine your passion for the subject. The third tip is you want to take stock of your resources. And the fourth tip is you want to determine the profitability of your idea, okay? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of these 4 tips in this video today, but I want to emphasize that the questions that you may have around how to really answer any of these issues, really pulling it together and putting it out there, thinking about how am I going to create a marketing strategy for this? How am I actually going to make money for this? That those are the exact issues that we address in the second phase of my program, which I call the landing phase. And so there's 3 phases to my program. So today's video, these 4 tips, they're going to be taken from that phase of my program. I call it the landing phase. And there's 3 steps. So the first step is content creation. Okay, so in my program, The Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online, we take you from being overwhelmed by a flood of ideas, right? Because usually when people come to me, they're not struggling with, I have no idea, I don't know what I would do. Usually it's that they have an idea, they have a talent, they have a skill, they have something they're really interested in, and they just don't know how to market it, how to strategize getting it out there and to get eyes on it, right? Let alone how to make money off of it. So in our program with content creation, we take you from that overwhelmed feeling to being more clear, concise, and sequential, right? With content that really creates an authentic connection with your audience in the form of a 6-week signature course. And not only that, but we help you create quality, high quality content that allows your clients to have a transformational process, okay? Now, the second part of the landing phase is marketing magic. So we take you from having, let's say, no direction or overspending on, strategies that don't work to giving you one clear strategy and path that will give you an appropriate return on your investment. Okay, we do, and I do encourage you to step into paid advertising, but it could be as little as $5 a day. And that's what's really going to put your systems on automation to make sure that your business expands. Okay, and the third thing is Facebook ads. So we turn what are called cold audiences into warm audiences, and that allows you to reach people across the globe really using the best of what Facebook ads has to offer, and that includes what's called audience targeting and insights, and also exposure to potentially, a much wider audience than you could ever have without it. I have a client, an abundant healer in my program, who started running her first Facebook traffic ad, and she'd attracted 100 potential clients to her private Facebook group in 10 days. That's phenomenal. It's not unusual, however. In my Facebook group, I have a private Facebook group for healing attachment wounds because I don't just teach how to do this, I also do it. You know that expression, those who can't do teach? Well, I can do, and I do both. So in my program, I have about 100 clients coming into my group about every week and a half. And I'm going to show you how to do that in phase 2 of my program if you decide you'd like to check it out. But let's get back to what I want to talk about today, which is the 4 tips on how to hone in on creating a profitable course online. Okay. So first I want to talk about evaluating your experience and verifying with your community. So the first step is to evaluate what is your experience in the industry and the community that you would like to serve. What are your qualifications or accreditations in that niche? What projects have you already done in the past that could be reimagined or revamped? Do you have any case studies or testimonials that could speak to your experience in the matter? Have you ever published any content? It doesn't have to be like professional publication. It could be a blog, a podcast, a YouTube video, something like that, an article that you wrote. Or have you ever delivered anything to a live audience? It could be through a webinar or Facebook Live, but it could also just be a workshop that you ran or a conference. You did a presentation at a conference. Okay, all of that is gold. That is all gold, and it's a foundation on which you can build your online empire, right? Say it with me. All hail repurposing. Like, so valuable. Okay, you don't need to reinvent the wheel or start from scratch, right? So evaluate your experience in your community. Now, once you've identified those juicy ideas and you've kind of nailed them down, you want to make sure that you verify them within your community. And so I want to say that this is really so crucial to building your course because you may be passionate about it, but if people in your community aren't ready for it, right, then it's not going to help you get a leg up in terms of return on your investment. And that it includes your time, energy, and effort, right? So it's also why it's so crucial that you need to start building an audience and a community on Facebook ASAP. If you walk away from today's video with nothing else, you must know that you have to create a private, specifically a private group on Facebook, because here's a hint. Fan pages or business pages, they're not going to cut it anymore, especially since Facebook is launching a new algorithm that's going to start transitioning traffic much more towards groups and private forums, okay? So if you haven't already, I recommend that you open a private Facebook group and start building a warm audience for yourself. And I'd like you to think of them as like beta testers for your ideas that will help you tweak and flesh out what you want your courses to be. And you can do that by posting polls or surveys in your feed, or maybe you do what's called a lead magnet or a freebie giveaway if they respond in the comments below your post, right? But whatever you do, I highly recommend that you verify your ideas with your target audience before you pour all that time, energy, and effort into them. Okay, and that's something you can do for free starting today. Get your private group up and running. Okay. Now, the second thing is to determine your passion for the subject. Okay, so let's say after you've verified it with your audience, you're narrowing it down to 2 or 3 topics, you really want to consider, how much does this idea even excite me, right? I know I wake up thinking about sales funnels. Last night I had a dream about sales funnels. So it definitely excites me. Okay, but when you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, what excites you? What's the first thing that you think about regarding your subject matter? Okay. Additionally, you want to think about how passionate are you about the people this project and or this course would actually serve, right? How passionate are you about the niche that you have selected? And it's a really fair question because a lot of us serve all kinds of populations because we have a general sense of just wanting to help humanity, right? Or maybe because we're afraid of narrowing our clientele because we think that we're going to miss out on clients and somehow we're not going to be able to pay the rent, right? But I would really challenge you to shift that way of thinking, okay? And so instead, I want you to think about the kind of clients you want to work with, your ideal clients, what I call soul clients, okay? And this is not, for example, women ages 25 to 50 who struggle with anxiety and depression. No. That's way too vague, way too vague. A 25-year-old millennial struggling with adulting, just stepping into the professional world, is going to have a completely different experience of depression and anxiety than, you know, a 50-year-old mom who's got years under her belt and is struggling with empty nest syndrome. Okay? Completely different audiences. Don't lump them all into one bag. Okay? So when I say who's your ideal client or who's your soul client, something will pop into your head, and that's probably the closest thing to what it is that you want to work with. Okay? So if I were to say to you, tomorrow I am going to fill your practice with hundreds of potential clients, the kind that you have always wanted to work with, and as you work with them, you are going to be able to explore and figure out aspects of yourself that you've been struggling with simply by serving them, okay? Who would you ask to show up at your door? Who would you want to show up at your door? So whichever ideas that you have that best serve that population, that's where you need to focus your energies. Okay, those are the ideas that you want to hang on to. All right, so tip number 3. You also want to take stock of your resources. Okay, so another aspect of developing your course is thinking about how quickly are you going to be able to churn this out and turn it into a profitable business, right? 1 week, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years, right? So part of that too is considering what kind of infrastructure do you already have set up? What kind would you need to develop? What type of sales funnels and marketing strategies would work best in your niche and in your market? What are the costs involved? What's the market value of the course that you want to offer? And if you don't know these things, then I would highly recommend that you find a friend who's done it, a mentor or a business coach that can guide you through exploring these questions, such as moi and my program, The Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. That's all the stuff we talk about. And you also want to consider if you need further training or accreditations to be able to launch the kind of course that you want to launch. Okay. And if so, I'd recommend that that is not the idea that you pursue. Okay, because you really want to pick something that you can just repurpose and get out there so you can understand, learn and understand the structure, the infrastructure, how marketing online works, how your audience and your niche is responding to you, so that you can just kind of get the wheels up and running, and then you can pour gas in the tank, okay? So it's that whole expression, like you need to crawl before you can walk, right? That's part of the process, right? You need to learn how to, sometimes I think of it in other ways, like you need to learn how to build the turbine, and then you can turn on the water, okay? You're not going anywhere unless that wheel is constructed, okay? And then the 4th tip is to determine the profitability of your ideas, of your course idea, right? So this is where honing in on your passion and your talents kind of meets the world of marketing. And I highly recommend that you actually do some market research in whatever niche you're interested in serving, okay? So what price could you reasonably charge for your crawl before you ball? Thank you, Beb. What price can you reasonably charge in your niche, right? Or in that industry? How affordable is your program or your service for your ideal clients, right? What would make a decent return on your investment? How much would you need to make in order to make good on your investment, right? And so here's a few tips for doing some market research. Well, the first thing is you need to know who your soul clients are, who your ideal clients are. And remember, get rid of that whole, you know, that example I gave you, women 25 to 50 struggling with anxiety, depression. Someone's calling me right now. It's across the room. But you're gonna hear that ring go until the end. I'm sorry. It's the joy of live stream video. But the second thing is you want to think about narrowing that niche, right? So not just women ages 25 to 50. You want to narrow it down. So are you serving the millennials? Are you serving the empty nesters? Are you serving the moms, or are you serving the single ladies in between? Like, who are you serving? Okay. And like, get a real picture of them. What's their first, middle, and last name? Did they have mono when they were in high school? Like, everything about them. What is their greatest strength? What is their greatest weakness? What is the thing that they want most? What would they spend any amount of money to have and to get? What do they want to hear more than anything, right? So you really need to narrow that down. So once you do that, then do these, which is to start doing a Google search, right, on that population, and just simply fall down that rabbit hole. I don't know about you, but anytime I do a Google search, like 20 minutes later, I'm completely off from where I started. Secondly, you might also look up Facebook groups and business pages that are related to your niche, right? And I would actually recommend focusing more on the private groups because, as I said before, Facebook is adjusting their algorithm to send more traffic to communities, okay? So that would be like private groups and forums and things like that. Less so to business pages. So, but you can still get a sense of taking a look at the content and the comments on public pages. And then I just recommend that you request to join a few private ones and just see how they're being conducted. You can join mine if you want to. Mine is, you're in my Abundant Healer one right now, but you could also join my Healing Attachment Wounds group if you want, because I approach that obviously from a different angle. Okay. Now, the other thing is you want to explore blog posts, articles, YouTube videos that may be gaining traction in the areas that you want to focus on. I recommend that you actually purchase a course similar to the one that you would like to create and see how they do it. Opt in for every clickbait freebie that you can get your hands on, right? And save their lead magnets. A lead magnet is the free thing that they are giving you. Usually it's a PDF or an audio download or a free video training or whatever it is, a free ebook. Whatever they give you, save that stuff. Save that stuff because that's inspiration, okay? And then if you get a series of back-end emails automatically sent to you, don't get annoyed and unsubscribe. Save. I've got folders galore in my Google Drive of all the back-end email sequences that everyone I follow sends out. I know how frequently they send out repeated emails now because I'm watching them. That's how you get better. That's how you start to really market and get yourself out there. And so the better you know your niche, not only the clients that you might serve, but also the approaches that other people are taking to serve them, right? The ones that are serving them already and successfully, the better the kind of program that you will create and the higher your profit margin, obviously. So this is the next part that I think is kind of fun. All right. Okay, so let's say you have some ideas, right? We're gonna get a little analytical on you. All right, let's say you have some ideas. Now, ideally, you could do this with more than 2 columns. I'm going to do 2 columns just for the sake of ease, but you could do it with more, right? Move this way a little bit. Okay, so we've got, I said the first tip was experience. The second one was passion. What would I say the third one was? Resources and profitability. Okay, so I'll hold this up. Okay, so in terms of experience, you're going to create 2 columns, well, 3 columns really, right? So let's say this is your first idea and this is your second idea, okay? Right? So here, whatever it is, you're going to times 1, times 1, times 1, times 2. Okay. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being not so confident, 10 being really confident, on your first idea, whatever it is, how confident are you in your experience in that area? So like, let's say your confidence is like a 6. Okay. How passionate are you about that subject? But maybe you're like more passionate about it. Okay. So maybe it's like an 8. Do you have enough resources to put that idea into action? So for example, like let's say you want to make, maybe you want to make a 6-week course that includes 6 video lectures and tutorials, right? So you want to think about, do I have the equipment to make that happen? Do I have the know-how to edit those films? Do I have the audio? Blah, blah, blah. So, and if I don't, A, do I know how to use those things? And B, do I have the resources to obtain them, right? So like, let's say you kind of have some experience, you're super passionate about it, but let's say you don't really have a lot of resources for it, okay? Now, profit, whatever you think the profit might be. So like, let's say but you think it's like a really good idea and you think that it could fill a real need in your niche. So like, let's say the profit is like a 10. Okay, you think you make a lot off of that. So let's say your second idea, you're not as passionate about it, but or like let's say you have a lot of experience. Like let's say you have a lot of experience and because you've been doing a job and you've only been able to get a job in that particular area because you had prior experience in that area. I've seen this happen a lot where practitioners end up getting pigeonholed into certain kinds of jobs because they've just had a job like it before, and they are taking that job because that's how they're going to get paid, but it's not because they actually have a specific passion for working with that population, right? So like, let's say you have a lot of experience, but you don't have a lot of passion for it, okay? Resources, well, maybe because you have a lot of experience, you have more resources. So let's say that's like a 7. In terms of profit, let's say that's like let's say it's like an 8. We'll say you think you could make some money at it, but maybe not as much as the other idea, even though you have more experience in that area. Okay, so then you would just add all these up. So that is 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 13 is 27, right? But we're going to times 2, so this is actually 20. Okay, so 23 plus 6 is 29, plus 8 is 37. And then 8 plus 2 is 10, plus 7 is 17, plus 8 is 17 plus 8 is 25, plus another 8 would be 33. So even though you may not have as much experience in this area, you have a lot more passion for it, or you may have not as much experience or as many resources, you have a lot of passion for it, and that kind of makes up for that. Additionally, it might be a really profitable idea. So based on our little exercise here, that would actually be the better way to go. Okay, so it's just kind of a way of working out numerically what feels very, unmeasurable. Okay, but there is a way to kind of work with these things. So that's just kind of a basic exercise to kind of explore and hone in on your talents and skills. And some 4 tips to start thinking about how to cultivate your thinking about your passion for your resources and experience around what kind of courses you'd like to create and build online, really, to start blasting you through that one-to-one business model, right? And if any of these things have, stood out to you, or that you've enjoyed any of what I've talked about today, I invite you to come join us. We're doing a live webinar on Wednesday night, April 4th at 7 p.m. I'm going to be talking about 3 keys to scaling a soulful practice online. And it is to kick off our open enrollment period. So right now we are in an open enrollment period for the Abundant Healer 90 Days to Scale Your Practice Online. And I'm super excited about it. We are also in the early bird period for it. So I've knocked $1,000 off the regular cost of the program. If you are interested in learning more, I invite you to sign up for our webinar. You're going to learn more about what the program involves, the cost of things and whatnot. If you are interested in booking a consultation call with me directly, you can check out my website at theabundanthealer.net. Thank you for watching, and keep your eyes glued to the feed. I'm going to be doing more live streams like this, particularly throughout this enrollment period. So I look forward to seeing you in the feed and also in the webinar.